Well, the Miami Hurricanes knocked off Texas A&M 48-33. Welcome to...
It's the recap show! Oh, it's the recap show! Why don't we have voices?
You guys sound terrible.
Oh, my God. Listen, man, mine popped. For those of you that are curious, I was a bad radio boy yesterday, and I didn't save my voice. And when Burchard took it to the house, I felt it pop. And, well, so there you go.
Oh, my God. And you know when it goes, too. It's the worst.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Like, damn.
Burchard took it to the house. Funny, I'm standing there. I'm in the corner, right? And Toast knows where we're. Everybody knows where we're hanging out. We're doing our thing. And he's about to receive the kick. And I said, all right, come on, Burchard. Show me something. Bang.
And he showed you.
He showed us something real quick, didn't he? And X, thank you. Thank you for taking the kicker out, right? Sprung him real quick. Golly, we haven't seen, man. Oh my God, dude, I haven't been that happy leaving a stadium in so long.
Years.
We knew the Cam was okay, and thoughts and prayers out to him. He's from all accounts totally fine. Everything was precautionary. But that kind of obviously put a somber mood on it there for a little bit. But holy hell, bro. We dog walked those boys. Like that game wasn't even close. It wasn't even 15 close. Like we kicked the shit out of them all night.
So I want to peel back behind the curtain. I'm up in Vieira for my son's baseball tournament. And after the game, I'm running to catch as much as I can. And I caught like basically 3/4 of the game. I'm in a Chili's in Vieira. It is like, normal restaurant style, chatter. You can guess what the volume is. And Burchard takes one to the house. And I'm looking through a window at a bar and I see it. I stood up in the middle of the restaurant. Let's go. I just looked at me like I had three heads.
Let's go.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Let's go.
It was listen, I've been saying it was the biggest game on the schedule. It opens up the pathway to start the season 5-0. The momentum. First of all, props to the crowd. Orange out game. People can make it as much fun as they want. Crowd showed. The lower bowl was totally full. Upper bowl from where we were looked to be about 30% full. So there was a great crowd. We got some false starts going. It was just it was an awesome day, bro. And I'll be honest. So for the first time in a long time, I came out of a game, a big victory, thinking to myself, I think we're going in the right direction.
And he said that, and we mentioned how you can't really back away from some of the things that he's said. He's praised a lot of kids. He's praised the momentum. He's praised the culture. He's praised all of this like to no end during the offseason. And you can't, it's tough. He knows what he's looking at. And I think that's kind of the difference, right? We don't see this stuff every day. We're not, down there every day and getting word every day and seeing these kids every day and having conversations with them every day. So we don't necessarily know, but he knows. And he's seen what it takes. And when he's telling you and praising up and down, left and right, sideways and circle, whatever you want to do, he's praising these kids and the culture of what's happening. Maybe now you're starting to see it. You kind of have to believe him. He's not praising it just to, talk shit. It's not coach speak. Coach speaks usually in the opposite direction. Right? So
in order for us to do what we did yesterday, you're right. He knows what it looks like. He's been praising. And the one group he's been praising in particular, the offensive line. And boys, that's where it started for me. Because it's been a minute since the University of Miami dominated a team in the AP top 25. And that's exactly what Texas A&M was. Mario, by all admissions, said that Texas A&M was an improved team from the year before. We were an improved team. But I got 2001 vibes. No, I'm not jumping ahead of myself. But like Kenny Dorsey, you just couldn't touch him. Like the offensive line just did whatever they could to keep him upright. And my goodness, Tyler has a remarkable day. I know we're going to touch on it, but he had all day to throw. I mean, it starts up front. Mario knows what it's supposed to look like up front. And you got to credit Mario Cristobal for revamping that offensive line, because if we have any struggles against, excuse me, against that offensive line, my goodness. I mean, against their defensive line, which is extremely athletic, I think it starts up front. I think it ties in nicely with what you're saying, Scoop, about he knows what it's supposed to look like, and he definitely knows what it looks like up front along the offensive line.
You go back and look at the highlights and you watch the game again. The pocket he had on his throws, like, bro, he had all day. It was like textbook what you would show in a film. This is what a pocket looks like, just perfect. And he had all day. I mean, they got their hand on. They knocked him to the ground once.
He had one sack.
Yeah.
I had one key to this entire year. One. That was it. To keep Tyler upright. I've spoken about it ad nauseum, because when he's upright, you see what he could do. You see what he can do. You see what he's capable of, which is what he was capable of 2 years ago. And you mentioned it, had a remarkable day. I felt so damn good for him and everyone that's around him and that supported him, because that's a year in the making, at least. That's a long time coming, having to deal with all this bullshit chatter and everything else. That was awesome, dude. 374, 5 touchdowns.
He was an emotionless assassin. If you just looked at his face, he had that consummate, I've been here before, I've done this before, this is nothing new. I know I'm this great. He walked into the halftime. I saw like the clip of him walking in through the tunnels.
I saw that too.
Hard Rock Side, and he was just chilling. He was emotionally chilling. It was fun to see. It was like, I know I'm great. This is fine. I'm not going to get too high. I'm not going to get too low. And I'm going to take these boys as lunch. And some of those throws, and you got to love Mama on the broadcast with the Van Dyne shirt. Again, you're welcome. But Mama's watching Van Dyne's left and right. So he was depositing a lot. He made a lot of money yesterday. He was depositing a lot of those dimes in the piggy bank.
Bro, that the way he dropped the ball into Isaiah Horton on the 52-yard touchdown, bro, that was just, I mean, dude, he was pinpoint on everything, 70% on the day. And listen, guys, and after we talk about Tyler, this game started out, we've seen this game before. Come out, shoot yourself in the foot, fall behind early, and the team just rolls over. We saw it against Clemson. We've seen it numerous times over the last 4 or 5 years. When Mario's talking about that culture, this team responded. They fell behind. They said, screw this. We're doing it to ourselves. They responded. We haven't seen that in a long time. Years.
And they did it twice. They had to do it twice, right? Because you had the block punt.
Mm-hmm.
They scored 10-yard touchdown, right? Or they had 10. They had a 10-yard drive touchdown. Then they score, and you're like, okay, we got the momentum. And then we have the muffed punt for another 10-yard drive touchdown, and it's 17-7. Now, let me touch on something real quick, because if we're going to talk about one negative thing, I'm going to talk about this. And one of us put it out, and I look for everyone who doesn't follow.
That's me.
Follow the account, right? There are 3 people tweeting from that account, and that is the allure of it, right? Everyone has access, and we can say whatever we want at any time. And 3 of us, actually 4 of us. So hopefully Jenners doesn't get in the mix here and really start fucking people's heads. But somebody put out a tweet.
Georgia Tech score at one point just to throw everyone.
Okay, all right. He's got to throw that in there. But we're allowed to criticize, so don't get your panties all up in a bunch because we feel as though you as a team, and you've done it 2 weeks in a row now, and it's not just the one time why we jumped on it, right? We've done it 2 weeks in a row. You've fielded a punt inside the 10, and it is football 101. So whatever you want to say, and you can get all mad about it, whatever, you're either at Rowe is Rowe's famous quote, you're either coaching that way or allowing it to happen, right? So these kids have been playing football for a long time. They know, right? As Josh was telling us last night, he perfect analogy, and we all know this analogy, is you put your heels on the 10, and if you have to take a step backwards, you run to the sideline, right? Brax used to do it all the time. He literally would be on the sideline before the ball even came down. So we can criticize the fact that, and look, Jacoby, fantastic game. 3 touchdowns, almost had 4. First time a receiver's had 3 touchdowns since Hankerson in a game. So fantastic. Great bounce back. Look, that mentally, that can be really tough. So for the fact that he can come back and have that type of game after that mental error is fantastic for him. Super happy for him. That being said, I listened to the post-game conference that Mario had. And let me just throw this out there. So again, criticize us all you want for criticizing the fact that we think that is just a really, really dumb play. Mario says, I wanted to punch myself in the teeth. Can we quote that? Put that in quotes because that's exactly what he said. I wanted to punch myself in the teeth. We need to coach that better. So, suck it for everyone who thinks that we're being too critical over that, because it shouldn't have happened. And we're allowed to say it. So we can say it during the game. We can say it after the game. We can say whatever we want. So for one bad thing that happened last night, that was it. Moving on. Did I say that we kicked the shit out of Texas A&M?
Well, there was another thing in the postgame that I thought was great. So obviously we saw the pass to Jacoby in the end zone that just off the fingertips, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, postgame, Tyler Van, they're talking to DBJ is talking to TVD. So, Jacoby had a great game, had 3 touchdowns. So I was like, yeah, I should have had 4. And then they're talking to Dawson, and DBJ says, yeah, and how about the game Jacoby had 3 touchdowns? Yeah, I should have had 4. So the fact that both the OC and the quarterback are able to make that statement in a joking way like that on the to the media right after the game, I think it kind of shows the drive and also the level of competitiveness that these guys have, because they say he makes that catch all the time in practice, bro. So we're going to give him shit for not making it in the game.
It's good. There were some validation aspects over there. Shannon Dawson, I know, J.O., we'll talk about that. But I said, listen, yeah, I know. I picked us to lose, and I got peculiar text messages immediately like, you still think we're going in 7-5? I just want to be on the record. I always said we're 90% better, 90% chance of going better than 7-5. I'll push it up to 95% now. We have a 95% better chance to go better than 7-5. But when you looked around the rest of college football, I said, if Mario Cristobal can go 5-0, if he can win this Texas A&M game, it's kind of a validation that, okay, last year you could put a bow on it, and you could have put it strictly on the fact he hired some terrible coordinators. Now you look at college football yesterday. What happened between Texas and Alabama? Texas goes ahead at Bryant-Denny Stadium, puts up 34 points, and there's all these gashing holes and missed coverages by Alabama. Oh, that looks familiar. I remember we had a guy who did that. And then Maryland's already wanting to get rid of Josh Gaddis too. Now you can kind of see, like, listen, as great as Mario is, we've always said it's going to come down to his coordinators. And I will tell you this. I mean, Shannon Dawson, bravo. What a brilliant game plan. And this is the thing that was the most refreshing about this yesterday for me, boys. You knew Texas A&M was going to come in and try to take away the running game.
That's right.
You knew it. You knew that they were going to try to do it. It was the same thing that Middle Tennessee State did after we came off the backs of Texas A&M. We ran for $175 on Kyle Field, and they said, no, we're not going to let you run. You're going to have to pass to beat us. We didn't get over 100 yards. Toast, I think you said we need a rush for 200 yards. We felt that was lofty. And I felt in the recesses of my heart, nope, this is not going to be one of those games. If we're going to win one of these games, Tyler can go off, but I'm confident that he can. And that's once again, 2 weeks in a row, Shannon Dawson has been able to figure it out on the fly. Hey, listen, I got to run this week because they're not letting me. This week I got to pass because they're not letting me run. You can only take away so much on a defense. And it's the offensive coordinators. And one of my favorite calls, because I said, I like to be exotic in the red zone. And when I saw that one little fake reload screen come back out, Jacoby George had the easiest touchdown.
It was so good.
So good.
We were there. Play. I literally called that. I was like, oh, he's going backside flat. Fuck, immediately knew it. And they were like, what? Dude.
So beautiful.
It was a great, and that's what I'm saying. Mario can do what Mario can do. He's a CEO. He can instill the culture. He can get the talent. Look at what he did at the offensive line. And then if you could get some talented play callers around him, the sky's the limit. Against a top 25 team yesterday at home, it was an ass kicking. That score wasn't even reflective of the actual game. We gave them 14 points off miscues. So it just goes to show you, again, it was kind of a small little victory lap, and I'm telling you, Mario and everybody can write off yesterday as just an atrocious set of hires. But hey, you live and you learn. Move on to the next.
Well, it's that. It is that, right? It's the hires, but it's also the fact that he's turned over half this team, right? He's got 41 or 42 new players in, and that's the difference, right? And Shannon Dawson, bravo, and like you said, amazing game plan. Hearing him on the post game, it was pretty cool because he's talking about he's like we ran the stuff last week and we ran it because they couldn't stop it, so we just kept running it, and everyone thought we forgot how to throw the football. And then this week we see within 2 or 3 plays that they're not going to let us run the football. So what are we going to do? And they were playing, and you said it perfectly. They dared you because they played press for a lot of the game. They kept bringing their corners up, and dude, our wide receivers, big shout out, because they took their lunch money all day long. Career high in yardage with some really, really nice plays, right? Colby, some really nice plays. Jacoby, 3 touchdowns. And Jacoby had so much time in the last one that he fixed his helmet.
Yeah.
You see that? His helmet got a little, and he's like jogging back to the numbers of the hash. And he's like, oh, that thing's a little crooked. And then he dipped. I was like, what? Man, and another brilliant throw there. And what was that? 3rd and 6? I think it was 3rd and 6. And that was the drive that we had to run the clock.
Yes.
Right? This is why you bring Mario in. You had to run the clock. You had to be able to get first downs. You had to be able to run this game out. It's 3rd and 6. And what do? He throws a fade off the outside shoulder right over Jacoby to the house. I mean, that's having confidence, man. That's Shannon having confidence in his quarterback and his receivers.
Couple of things. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and say to a gentleman named Jason Autry, bro, you need to do better. He was the head referee yesterday, bro. That officiating crew was absolute trash. Like, I don't even understand half those calls, but whatever. The good news here, though, let's talk about a transfer that came in that we were hoping he'd be good. Let's talk about Jaden Davis for a second. We got a CB1. We got a CB1. We have a CB1.
Yeah, he's all that and then some.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he was everywhere. He also forced that fumble too.
Yep.
Yeah. That dude was lights out. They say he's super aggressive, loves to tackle.
6 tackles.
He was lights out yesterday. And if we're going to talk about the secondary, James Williams, welcome to the show.
That was the first time James Williams was like, he was as billed as advertised. Now he's flashed, but I always said this: if it flashes too much, it doesn't stay on. It's a hazard light. You either stay on or you stay off at a certain point. He was on. He was green lit, ready to go. Looked like the 5-star billing that he always was. My favorite play, obviously, is when him and Daryl Porter Jr. are making tackles in unison. That's got to be on the highlight package forevermore.
Bro, we tweeted that. We said, yeah. That's your favorite play, too. So look at that. See, consensus. I tweeted out my favorite play of the night, and it blew up, dude. Huge.
It was such a brilliant play. Yeah, James Williams he was the part. It was phenomenal to see. Now, obviously, he's going to have to step up in the safety room as well. Prayers again. We started the show with it to Cam. Mario said that for all intents and purposes, he looks okay. Obviously, this week, you're not going to be playing a certain opponent, so it's probably advantageous and would behoove Cam to probably take the next week or 2 off, make sure that he's healthy. Obviously, let the doctors do their thing. But now you got James Williams there. And James, just what a remarkable game. That Texas A&M wide receiver group, that's going to challenge you. They're the second best on paper that I think we're going to face, and I got to give credit to Florida State. And the other thing is with Texas A&M's receiving core, they're long, they're tall. You know, they gave us everything we could in terms of height, but I felt Miami's DBs did what they needed to do. Again, what did we give up, boys? It was what, 48-34? What was the final score?
33.
48-33.
48-33.
But you gifted him 2 touchdowns.
You gifted him 2 touchdowns, 14 points. You really want to see what Lance Guidry did. I know we're praising Shannon Dawson, but if you want to see what Lance Guidry did, he mixed it up. He had a pretty good game plan. 14 points came off turnovers. You take away those 14 points, I think that's more reflective of what the game was going to be.
Yeah, and to kind of close out the James Williams talk, that was it was reminiscent, right? I know you said, Ro, that you kind of got the 01 vibes, right? And again, people don't think that we're comparing the two. What we're doing is you see these flashes, you see this kind of mentality, right? You saw James picking dudes' heads up, right? When they got down early, he was just walking around, hitting him in the chin. Let's go. We got this. No problem, right? So, but just watching him roam last night was so reminiscent of the greats that have been back there. And God, he was so fluid. He just looked so different. That
Imposing.
Confidence is there. He was, and then he blew the one kid up on that clean hit that they thought was a
Albert Breer going on Twitter. Hey, they use back when they start making dirty plays like this. Like, really, yeah, Dick?
Totally
really,
clean hit. Dick? Shoulder to shoulder. It wasn't even shoulder to head.
Right.
Yeah, man, that was fun. And that play was so smooth.
I don't know if you've even seen the telecast. They were, yeah, he's gone. This is so obvious targeting. Meanwhile, I'm watching this. I'm like, no, it's not. His head didn't go into the actual crown of it went off to the shoulder. It went off to the side. I'm like, I thought he was gone. Again, Amari Carter flashbacks. I did. And I'm like, hey, he shouldn't be, is what initially came to. He shouldn't be gone. So I'm glad we have him. Obviously, we're going to need him moving forward as well. But yeah, poor taste. Some of the tweets. So some people need to really read what they say before they said it. It's like, welcome to Earth. Like you're literally about to tweet that. Like you don't understand. Like, I know we're in a more sensitive culture these days, but that's just being a decent human being. What the hell are you even talking about? Like, that shouldn't even be in the forefront of your frontal lobe, people. Some of these comments you need to keep to yourself. It was terrible. And yeah, 2001, just because I say we have a vibe of 2001 where, okay, we have a vibe that, listen, I remember Kenny Dorsey having this amount of time, and he was relatively unscathed. That's what that game against a really good defense. Texas A&M's got some talent. I don't know if you know this or not, but they were the #1 recruiting class a couple years ago. They're like 4- and 5-star U. In terms of blue chip ratio, and I talk about that incessantly, they're loaded. They are loaded, people. They are loaded. But it was good to see University of Miami do that.
So amazing. A couple of things they're going to have to work on. Obviously, Canes had 10 penalties for 115 yards. That's something that they're obviously going to work on. I will also say this, an interesting little stat here. A&M ran 28 more plays than the Canes did. 82-54. Yeah, we outgained them.
Yeah,
he ran
yards
82 plays.
82 plays for 433. We ran 54 for 451.
Wow. 82 plays. They don't even run tempo. How do you get 82 plays?
Well, I'll tell you, when you're
half.
surgically efficient, your quarterback, a couple turnovers. We lost the turnover battle. Well, actually, did we? Because they had Connor Wentz threw his first couple of interceptions.
No, we actually won the turnover battle.
Won it. Yeah. We actually won it. We lost one. In that case, though, yeah, you're going to have some turnovers. But, you were surgically efficient. You're scoring. Tyler Van Dyke has a couple big ones here and there. You're surgically efficient. Sometimes that's the way it happens. Now, if you would have told me they would have ran that many more plays, and I don't know, this could have been lopsided, but went in favor of the U. I want to transition to something because we've kind of mentioned it, but we haven't really fully just head first into this. Tyler Van Dyke. Okay, Tyler Van Dyke. I had to show the most amount of restraint because I was trying to explain this week through student of the game a Tyler Van Dyke interception. And next thing you know, this guy decides to tell me to F you, parrot, and I know what he's getting at, like just this TVD apologeticist. And I'm like, you don't understand. First of all, kids battling through injuries, you don't understand how special he was 2 years ago. You get the worst, atrocious offensive coordinator. He's battling through injuries, and something that I understand. Tyler's like a baseball kid, right? And you might not understand this, but, Pat Mahomes being a very famous NFL quarterback that has baseball background, and yes, it allows them to get comfortable throwing mechanically from different avenues. And Tyler's always had this like kind of 3-quarter delivery, right? That's just him. Tony Romo was a successful quarterback throwing from 3 quarters. You had Dan Marino was successful throwing from sidearm deliveries. So, but okay, regardless, baseball. But you know what baseball players learn? Failure. Over and over and over. Repeated failure. And you know what they do? They keep their head up because when you're playing a game when it's 9 versus 1, you fail a lot. And that was one thing with Tyler. He never got – so when you see this mental assassin show up, you don't think that kid's conditioned? That kid, I love Malik. We all love Malik. Malik was hearing shit. He goes up to App State. I think it was App State or whatever game he goes, and he shushes the crowd, right? That was Malik's way of saying, I heard you guys. Now I'm balling out. Y'all need to just shut your mess up. Tyler did it the same way, and I want you to know that. Tyler did the same exact thing. He's just not that kid that's going to go ahead and put up his finger and tell everybody, no. But when he acted that way, he wanted everybody, even you, parrot boy, he wanted everybody to know this is me and this is what I'm capable of. You're damn right I'm going to act like I've done this before and I'm going to do this again because that's my background. That's how mentally tough I am. And now you got to sit there and tip your cap. Toast, you're damn right. Tweet of your OBB career. That is and forever will be QB1. Yes, it is. And now everybody's got to get back on board with that because so many of you turncoats who are fair-weathered assholes who can't see the bigger picture, and we're trying to tell you, stay the course, stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. Now he comes back, and everybody's back, and everybody's back. And we never left. And we never left. It was a special performance. It was even more special considering not the stat book, everything that kid just had to go through for a year. Everything he had to go through. And that's what you got. Dish served cold. Congratulations to you, Tyler.
So, what you may not know is I was told that after the Alabama-Texas game in Nick Saban's office, they were asking why they didn't just offer Tyler double. Whole coaching staff, you should offer them more.
Yeah. I was watching that Texas real quick. Turn it over to you, Scoopy. I was watching that Texas game. I'm like, oh my goodness, Alabama has their version of Jeff Sims.
Yes.
We praised him the week before, but I'm like, he does not look comfortable throwing the ball. He can run.
Yeah, he threw a couple. He can run.
Hayes.
He threw a couple nice ones. Now I was going to just kind of touch on the off-platform stuff. And one play that I absolutely loved last night was Tyler threw a little dump to X from his shoelaces. And if you go back and watch this play, I kid you not, it's 2 feet off the ground when he lets go of it. So that was awesome. I love that. I love seeing that, right? Because he can be creative with that kind of stuff. And Dawson is letting him be. And that's pretty fantastic.
Well, so they were saying that Tyler had a lot of autonomy yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to get up there and make changes if he saw something, which is just an amazingly refreshing.
Isn't that nice?
You have a great quarterback. Treat him like a great quarterback.
What? He can change. He can get out of a bad play into a good one.
Yeah,
he can do it.
Yeah.
Oh.
We said it ad nauseum. I would never let my son play in a system where the offensive coordinator had that much of an ego. And part of the reason why Tyler even got hurt is because you ran a play he wasn't supposed to. And listen, I want to go back to Jacoby George, the one where he fixes his face mask. That was like a 3rd and short.
That's what we talked. That's what I said. 3rd and 6.
3rd and 6, and he's just like, all right. And he kind of like, if it wasn't, I'll review it at the state of the student of the game later tonight. If it was not an out and up, which is an aggressive play call on 3rd and short and manageable, what have you, or he's just doing the fade and it's one-on-one, and the offensive coordinator is giving you the autonomy to hit that one-on-one. Now, later on, it's a 3rd down again, and they pop a big play because they get a one-on-one and they're going vertical down the field. That, to me, spoke absolute volumes. And Miami, learn this in your DNA. Whoever your offensive coordinator is, if his vocabulary doesn't include big plays and aggressive, pass on him. Pass on him, please. We've been saying for years, part of the culture and the DNA of South Florida athletes is let them go one-on-one and get vertical. It's cultural. It is so cultural. And it was so refreshing. It was so refreshing to see that an aggressive game plan, even in countercultural like counts, like 3rd and short, 3rd and manageable, University of Miami could still step on the gas. And that's the reason why they put up close to a 50-burger.
So 48 points, the most that the Miami Hurricanes have put up against a top 25 opponent since 2002, when they put up 56 against Vatek.
That was not a bad Texas A&M squad.
That is a disgusting stat, by the way.
Listen,
and that was not a bad team.
Wegman threw his first interception. I mean, granted, the receiver fell right before it happened, but whatever. He's a good quarterback, dude. Like, first interception, like 170 whatever attempts. I will say the other aspect to this game that you had to start thinking of as you're walking out of the stadium. Yeah, recruiting. Oh, it was, I mean,
that didn't hurt yesterday.
Wide receivers seeing this offense. I mean, like, come on, dude. Like, this is watch out, people.
Yeah, and can we give a huge shout out as part of that and how that's going to then funnel based on that? Kevin Beard, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Because these receivers look night and day. Now, part of it was scheme last year, and we didn't get to see what they could do, but they look the part. I was worried a couple weeks ago. I'm not worried anymore. They looked apart yesterday,
and it came from different avenues, right? You had X, you had Colby Young strike, obviously Jacoby George with a fantastic game. Isaiah Horton had one.
Horton out the long one.
Yeah, Horton here's a who, and you still got some guys that are going to factor. You figure later on, it's a deeper wide receiver room because. When those are your 3 starters, right? We kept praising the younger guys. All right, what about Ray? Stuff like that. Some of these younger guys that are on the roster that have the capability of stepping up. We were like, oh, those are the up and comers. But the starters, we always kind of knew were going to be Colby, Jacoby, and X. And those starters were if they're not being pushed on the green tree by the younger generational talents underneath them. I mean, they came up to play, and yes, praise Kevin Beard as well, because it's all clicking right now because those guys played like starters, like Miami starters, and they're in an advantageous system, and it's got to start down here that way. You have to win ball games that way. You have to. And Mario, I think, might figure that out. You can grind them out like one week, and another week you have to just go out and just play air raid football.
Well, I think Shannon just showed you that yesterday. He's like, I'm going to do whatever's necessary. I've got this big playbook, and I can do whatever I want to do based on what they're giving me. Not necessarily a game plan. It's just an adjustment plan. And he's got it all at his disposal.
Yeah, the adjustment plan. I like it. I mean, you're going to have a game plan, but it's really going to get down to the adjustments as quick as possible. And rightfully so. And Tyler, again, great job executing that. And you're going to see more confidence, which Shannon realized in game 2 of his career, and I'm sure he caught the sense of this, what Rhett Lashley took about 4 or 5 games to figure out when he had Tyler. Remember, Tyler came off to a sluggish start, and then all of a sudden, what was the bang? The bang was simply that Rhett Lashley figured out only 11 points by Rhett Lashley last week against Oklahoma. I think I lost that game too. I know we'll touch on that Wednesday. Anyways, but Rhett Lashley realized what Tyler Van Dyke was a few games into his tenure. Now Shannon knows what Tyler's capable of. I can trust them. I can gift them those calls. He has the autonomy to do so, and he's going to make me look damn good. And Boy, did he ever. So
listen,
clicked.
Where you look around college football yesterday, you look at North Carolina, double overtime to get a win against App State. Clemson, while they did pull away in the fourth quarter, man, they were struggling through the first half of their game. I'll be honest with you guys. The pathway to 9-3 looks a lot more realistic, at least an opportunity to get there. I'm excited about this season.
Can they keep the edge?
You have to.
Really is that's what it boils down to.
That's
right? And I think
that's part of the character, right? Of
correct,
the locker room.
Correct. So, can you keep the edge? You were 1-0 for the week, as they say. And Tyler said it perfectly yesterday when they're hooting and hollering in the post game and this, that, and he's like, yeah, this is great. Look, we had a great game. But we're 2 games in. So I think that their focus, they understand that the only way they got here was by meeting small individual goals, which then adds up to, a nice big accomplishment. And they got to keep that edge, man. They got to go out and they got to beat Bethune by 60. Right. I mean, because that's the thing, right? You don't come out and you don't win next week 35-10. Right. You come out and you make them pay for showing up. And I think that's the stuff. And who do we have after that? We have Temple and who else?
Then we're at Temple and then we're home against Georgia Tech.
Okay. All right. Before UNC. So
before UNC on the road.
So they each week 1-0. And I think, they're just thinking about beating Bethune, and then they're going to think about beating Temple, and Temple's going to be out of town, and it's their first away game. And, so the schedule changes. What you have to go through that week changes. So they have to make sure that they've got everybody in line. And I do believe, if there's anything that I do believe aside from recruiting, I do believe that Mario is able to get people ready for stuff when he has the people that are like-minded in his mentality, which it seems as though this team certainly is.
If there's a pathway,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Toad. If there's a pathway to 9 wins, it's going to be off the backs of that offensive line, because teams, when I'm watching this on film, teams have to make a choice. They have to have a heads or tails moment. Are we going to commit to get Tyler disrupted? Because if you give him time, if you're not going to get aggressive, if you're not going to maybe send the house, potentially he's going to get comfortable and get 5, and then you're going to be open and on the back end. Or are you going to try to play it safe and hope that you have the horses up front to stop the running game with 6 or 7 people? And that's the refreshing part to see. That's the Mario Cristobal stamp pedigree, because Bethune, we're just going to boat race them. That's a talent thing, up and down. Temple, if you can't stop the run with a limited amount, then we're going to pass all over you. So now teams have to do that. You have to play Miami with that style of offensive line. We hold an advantage, boys. We haven't been able to say that in so long, but we hold an advantage because you have to declare yourself when you play us. Obviously, Shannon's proving it. You have to declare.
Yeah,
and that's what I like.
That's right. You've shown them that you're capable in 2 weeks of either or. Right? You've given them something to be like, well, fuck. How do we want to stop them? And they've got to try and game plan. And
Correct.
like Rose said, you got to stop. You're not going to be able to stop both. So you got to commit to be able to stop one. That's pretty cool, right? That's pretty cool to be able to show that within 2 weeks and put everyone's defense at a disadvantage very, very early.
And minutia real quick, the way that the University of Miami has adapted and learned from one year to the next how to handle stunts, bravo. Because that was, I'm telling you, as a student of the game connoisseur, stunts to a Miami offensive line was the equivalent of kryptonite to Superman. And all of a sudden, within a year's time, it's like all of a sudden Superman decides to have kryptonite sandwiches and he loves them because they have no problems handling stunts anymore. So bravo.
Listen, I'll tell you what, I'm curious what happens with A&M, because I don't they lost so many of those guys in the portal after that great class, bad season last year. I just don't think that they're going in the right direction, to be completely honest with you. And Breaks my heart to know that Shamar picked the wrong program.
No, it doesn't. Hey, I got a question for you guys, because obviously you know where I am location-wise. How was the atmosphere at Hard Rock yesterday?
Dude, it was solid.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, it was orange.
Yeah.
Like everybody, I mean, 90, I don't know, maybe 80, 85% of the stadium was orange, which was super cool. It was, I mean, it got loud. It got loud. And I know that sounds dumb, but, third down's loud, right? As we know, right? And when it gets rocking, everybody was standing. It felt great, man. And then Brashard took it to the house, and the good thing that our boys at Baines didn't put that new piece on there, because they'd have blown that shit right off the top. That was fun, right? So, yeah, it was great. It was great to see. Look, Jaden Davis said that was the best. He felt like he was at the Notre Dame game. Wasn't quite the Notre Dame game, but he was a recruit at that game. And then he said that's what the atmosphere felt like to him, being on the field. So, look, we showed out. I think if we can keep running, it's going to keep, next week's this week, I guess, Bethune on a Thursday night.
Right.
I mean, there'll probably be half that many people. But it'll be more than a normal Bethune game.
Right.
So
Georgia Tech should have a good crowd at home. I mean, the BOGO.
Yeah, maybe you got the BOGO. Right? So maybe everybody's showing up to that one for free.
So, listen, I thought it was a great atmosphere. I hadn't been there. I'd been in the press box all last year, so you don't really get, it's closed off. You don't really get the vibe of the crowd. They don't open the windows. So being out, it was, I thought it was a great atmosphere. It wasn't a sellout, but the whole lower bowl was full and about 30% of the upper.
So it was a perfect stadium sellout. A PSS.
It'd be great if they had banners
sellout,
cutting off the two upper end zones. Then the whole middle would have been pretty much full.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so perfect stadium sellout. All right, gotcha. That's what we're going with.
It was a Baylor sellout.
It was a Baylor sellout.
There you go.
You're learning. Very excited. Very excited. I mean, I just, and I'm sure for you guys leaving the stadium after that win must have been euphoric. But even for me, I watched that game. I'm yelling in a random Chili's and people looking at me like I'm a third head. But the best feeling was watching Alabama, Texas, knowing we're already a leader in the clubhouse. You're like, I don't have to struggle. I don't have to worry about Miami this week.
Yeah.
They look damn good. They look.
Yeah, enjoyed watching the rest of college football yesterday.
Yeah.
It's such a great feeling. It's
Good
such
stuff.
a great feeling.
Good
Look,
stuff.
It's
All right.
such a great feeling.
We didn't know we were getting. Here's the big picture. We didn't know. And we got to see progress. And not just like, I think we're moving in the right direction. Like, you got to see some real obvious progress. And it's coming from all facets. And that's really encouraging. Not just for now, but that's encouraging for the long run. Because, as we say, like Toast said about recruiting, you got to keep getting these dudes in here. And wins like that, and dominant wins like that, are going to help tremendously.
University of Miami are probably going to play Freaky Friday and trade places with Texas A&M's ranking. I don't see any possibility where University of Miami is not at least 23, 22. And when you consider being 5-7 the year before, you took 2 games, right? And you only had 2 options to kind of get into the top 25, or one pathway. And that was option 1. You had to have a pretty convincing win week 1, which it was, even though you ran 5 plays. And week 2, you took a top 25 opponent and you set records. That's what's going to get you back into the top 25. So when Mario says it's not there yet, but we're heading into the right direction, he's absolutely right. And I think the rankings are going to show it.
Yeah, you know what? I'll be honest. I'm not sure I would expect us to be ranked right now, only because there were a bunch of teams in front of us, and I'm sure There's going to be voters that think Texas A&M was overrated. The SEC bias. They played a worse team in New Mexico State. They didn't look good. So there are some folks that say they shouldn't have been 23. They're going to be some. So it may take a couple more. It may take to get to 5-0 in my mind to really kind of get yourself in the lower 20s. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
No, I think 24-25. There were some teams.
Well, Clemson was at 25
that lost.
Yeah.
Wisconsin lost.
Mm-hmm.
A&M lost, and there was another one that lost as well.
Right.
So I think, look, it's 24-25, or you're the first or the second with the votes on the outside looking in. I think
that's. I said for you. I said we were going to trade with Texas A&M somewhere between 22 at the highest to 25 is what I'm guessing. I think we're just going to switch places with them.
Yeah, I mean Tulane lost. Right, so they were 24.
Yeah, so I think Miami definitely gets in, but it's I don't
Colorado's
think it's
not dropping out.
No.
No.
So two games against Miami of Ohio, which very good team in the MAC, and A&M with the blue chip ratio winners every year. Right, 2 games in with 2 different offenses. Miami had 2 different offenses. You're averaging 43 a game.
That's a magic number. I mean, if you can average 40, you're going to have a special season. I don't know if we're going to be able to keep that toward pace the whole year, but you never know. You never know. What I do like so far with Shannon, out of all the coordinators so far that we've seen over the years, I'm talking, go back and pick. I mean, Fish, Nix, Coley. This guy seems to have just the least amount of ego. He really is. If he's allowing Tyler to call that many plays, and if he's willing to adapt his game plan that much, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So let's assault it. Let's try to get as close to 40 points a game, because that's rarefied air. That's you have a 40-point a game offense with Guidry. You're gonna win. You're gonna win 9+ games. You will. But let's just see. Just out of the box, Tyler's right. 2 games. We'll see where we end up.
All right. So we got Bethune Thursday night. Do your best to get out there. Gonna let my voice rest up and be better for the recap show and for the show this week. But yeah, boys, we're 2-0. We like where we stand. All Canes fans should be just fucking happy as hell today. Enjoy the NFL football as always. Go Canes.
Go!
Bang.